Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I have a new background, as you can see, and as the title, this isn't permanent, by the way, this is like an experiment, but anyways, as the title, today's lesson is going to be on anxiety. Now this isn't like the syndrome, anxiety and depression. This is more of like the worrying and the constant toiling, which is one of our points. But yeah, it's the constant worrying, the constant, is this going to turn out alright, has he got this under control, all this stuff. So we have 6 points, no, we have 5 points, and they're all in ing. So the first one is calling, which is you calling. So the verse that complements this is Psalm 94:17 through 19, and that says, "Unless the Lord had given me help, I would soon have dwelt in the silence of death. When I said, 'My foot is slipping,' your unfailing love, Lord, supported me. When anxiety was great within me, your consolation brought me joy. If the Lord didn't help you, you would have questioned him, but he did. When you call, notice when he helps." God sometimes he does, but most of the time he doesn't really show himself in a big and mighty way. He shows himself in the little stuff, and he calls on us to look for the little stuff, and he causes us to keep our eyes open and always alert for the things of him. So God calls us to notice the little things, and I've recently noticed, I put this in my study Bible, that God speaks his loudest in the little verses, and so he wants us to pay attention, like, we love because he first loved us, or Jesus wept, they have small words, like Jesus wept is like the shortest verse in the entire Bible, but it has the most meaning because Jesus wept means that he had emotions, and it's okay to have emotions. It's okay to be sad when someone passes away. It's okay to weep. It's okay to do a lot of emotional things, and it's small, but it has a very big meaning, and God usually portrays himself in the small things. And so when he helps you in the small things, be grateful and rejoice in those things, and know that greater things are yet to come. And if what he helps you with doesn't help the situation, God will use that, because his mind is greater than ours, and what he helps you with may not be what you were looking for, but it's what he wants. So just remember that and keep calling to him, and he will answer you soon enough. My second point is toiling. Ecclesiastes 12:22 through 25 complements this, and Ecclesiastes says, "What do people get for all the toil and anxious striving with which they labor under the sun? All their days their work is grief and pain. Even at night their minds do not rest. This too is meaningless. A person can do nothing better than to eat and drink and find satisfaction in their own toil. This too I see is from the hand of God, for without him who can eat or find enjoyment? We create more grief when we toil and worry." He's saying that finding satisfaction in toil is a great and mighty thing, and it is from God, because when we have satisfaction in toil, that means we're okay with where we are, and that we're trusting in the Lord to bring us through. He's also saying in verse 18, or it does say in Ecclesiastes 12:18, that to make the best of the situation. That is what the writer is saying. He's saying make the most of every situation and just trust the Lord. Verse 18 of Ecclesiastes in the New International Version says, "This is what I have observed to be good, that is appropriate for a person to eat, to drink, and to find satisfaction in their toilsome labor under the sun during the few days of life God has given them, for this is their lot." So he's saying here that you need to make the most of every situation. You need to find satisfaction in your lot, because that is what God has given you, and your life may be hard, but you need to find the good in it. You need to find the satisfaction in it. You need to find the good places, and sometimes those good places are just God. Most of the time, no matter what your life is, the good places are God, and if you can't see that, then you're hiding from God. Your heart is hard toward him, and you need to fix that, because most of the time in homes and situations, God is the only rock, and God is the only happy place and satisfaction that you can find. So make the best of the situation that you're in. Find the good, find the satisfaction, and most of the time it leads to God. And most importantly, he's saying that God will keep you busy. If there's a lot of things going on in your life, God will keep you busy, and He will keep you always working, always keeping your mind on other things than the situation that you're in. So my third point is looking, and the verses that correspond to looking is Luke 12:22 through 29. That says, "Then Jesus said to his disciples, 'Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat, or about your body, what you will wear. Who of you by worrying can add a single hour to your life? Since you cannot do this very thing, why do you worry about the rest? If that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow is thrown into the fire, how much more will He clothe you, you of little faith?'" So this verse means look for God to work and trust Him in everything, because He will work, you of little faith. I'm not saying that to you. That is what God says. He says, how much more will He clothe you, you of little faith? Now He's talking to the disciples, but me and you are His disciples, so He's talking to us. And we open up the Word and we think, this doesn't apply to me. This was said to someone 4,000, 3,000, 6,000 years ago. Like, it still applies to us. Jeremiah 29:11 still applies to us to this day. If you don't know what that is, look it up. It applies to you and it applies to me, and everything that God says in His Word is true and whole, and He wants you to have a good life, and He wants you to trust Him in everything, because He is the only one that can help you and that can save you, literally, and in your situation, and you need to look for it. I also want to say that in verse 32 of that same chapter, same book, He says, "Do not be afraid, little flock, for your Father has been pleased to give you the kingdom." So we are His sheep and He is our shepherd. And that's why He calls us His little flock, because He is leading us and we are small in His eyes, but we can do big things, but we are small in His eyes because we are human and we are fleshy and we are, corrupted and all this stuff, but He loves us and He cares for us and He calls us and He's precious to us and He's pleased to give us His kingdom. Even though we have messed up time and time again, He still loves us and He still wants us to succeed, and He still wants us to be with Him forever and ever and ever, because that is why He created us. He created us to be little Hymns. He created us to be little gods. Not like, worshiping, like people worshiping us, but us leading to the one that they're supposed to worship, and little examples of Him. And that's why He created us. The fourth point is rejoicing, and the one that corresponds with this is Phillipians 4:4-9. It says, "Rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice. Let your gentleness be evident to all. The Lord is near. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Whatever you have learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put it into practice, and the God of peace will be with you." So I believe in Philippians, this is Philip writing, and he's saying, and he's writing a letter to his people, and my rejoicing comes from when God helps you, rejoice. He loves it when you rejoice in Him, and when you rejoice, people will notice, and people will wonder, well, why is she rejoicing in the hard time? She's going through a really hard time right now, like her grandparents passed away, or like her boyfriend just broke up with her. Or going back to the trusting point, I said that Luke 12:22-29 stems from look for God to work and trust Him for everything. Another good verse for trusting Him is Proverbs 3:3-5. "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not into your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct your path." That's a verse that's been embedded in me forever, like as long as I can remember, since I was 5, since I was saved. That was embedded in my brain and my mind and my heart, and it's always going to be there. Proverbs 3:5-6. Embedded, huh? So a verse that stems from trusting in Him, as I said at the beginning, that Luke 12:22-29 says, look for God to work and trust Him through everything and for everything. Proverbs 3:5-6, it says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not into your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your path." What that means is, first, trust in the Lord. Secondly, when you trust Him, you're committing to looking for Him, you're committing to going to Him, you're committed to letting Him guide you, and if you consider your ways, it's not really trusting Him. So He's saying, in all your ways, acknowledge Him, and He will direct your path. Just acknowledge Him and love Him, and show Him that you care, and He'll know that you care, and so He will direct your path in the process. So that has been embedded in me for as long as I can remember, since I was saved, since I was 5. It's been in my heart, my brain. Well, I just did the opposite, my heart and my brain, since I can remember, and it's a great verse. 2 verses for everyone, so I just want you to know that. So my 5th point, which is my last one, is keeping, and what that means is keeping all the things that I previously said in my last 4 points, keeping them to God, and which would be rejoicing in tribulation, looking to Him, trusting in Him, calling to Him when you need help, knowing that He's there, not toiling, but just not toiling, not creating. So my last point, my 5th one, is keeping. And what this means is keeping all the previous 4 things that I said. So rejoicing, calling, looking, and toiling. Not toiling, but not making more grief for yourself, but trusting in Him to do all those things. And that's keeping that. And what corresponds to this is Hebrews. Or like, why is she rejoicing? Because a family member has cancer. You can just rejoice and know that God is with you and God will bring you through, whether that's letting your family member pass on or letting her go into remission. Even a family member passing is sometimes a good thing because they're not hurting anymore, they're not suffering, they're with God in heaven if they're saved, and that can also be a very rejoicing moment if you can lead them to Christ, because that is giving you treasures in heaven, and it's sending it on its way to heaven, so that way you will have something to lay at the feet of Jesus. So a lot of times, like people who have cancer, people who are close to dying, you can lead them to Christ, and you can show them, how they can go to heaven when they die. And it's just like I'm welling up with joy right now, because it's like I'm thinking and I'm like, wow, that's a really good opportunity to share someone with Christ. And if they reject, they're not rejecting you. They're rejecting Christ Jesus, the one who made them and the one who would save them. And just know that when you share your faith with someone, they're not rejecting you. It may feel like they are because you are God's and you are His and you are one with Him, but they're rejecting God. They're not rejecting you. So I just want you to remember that. And Hebrews 13:5-6 says, keep your lives free from the love of money and be content with what you have, because God has said, never will I leave you, never will I forsake you. So we can say with confidence, the Lord is my helper, I will not be afraid. What can mere mortals do unto me? So a lot of things can get in the way of your love for God, like it says, money, and just be content with what you have, be content with God, and know that He cares for you and He loves you and He will help you. Strive to keep a close bond with Christ so that you can know His heart. And when you know His heart, you will notice, like I said at the beginning, you will notice the little things. You will notice His love and His care and the little things that He does for you. Because when you have a special bond with someone, just by their facial, expressions, you know what they're thinking. So just have a close bond with Christ, and all the 4 things that I said will come together, and they will just blossom, and you will be able to rejoice in the small stuff. You'll be able to rejoice in everything. You'll be content where you are, and you'll not have anxiety anymore. I'm not saying that you won't have, if you have a condition, that won't happen, but like the mind games that the devil plays with you, they won't happen as often. And yes, you'll have your flesh to worry about, but if you keep that close bond with Christ, everything will fade away. All your flesh and everything, it'll be less difficult to give in to your flesh. So that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for viewing this video. If you haven't already, please subscribe. I would love for you to subscribe so you can be a part of my corner here where we talk about everything under the sun. And I love you so much. And if you like this video, please hit that like button. And I will see you in my 4th lesson, which is on Saturday. So I love you, and I'll see you later.